Hello and welcome to episode 10 of The Rat Down with Caedrel right here.
Name change left. For me.
Yeah, we're changing it, bro. We have the Rat Down for you. We have the Jack Down when we have the Jack episode in the future. We got to keep things different. We can't just have the Sack Down one through like however many thousands we end up doing. You know, it gets kind of boring at a point.
I'll read that then.
Yeah, so we got the Rat Down today. We got it with Caedrel. We have a lot of topics to cover, and I think this one will be a little bit different because normally we've been having current players on that are mainly focusing on playing within their region or former players who haven't been watching everything the same way we have. But I would say that in terms of like global League of Legends, we probably co-stream at least the most. We like watch the most global League of Legends in this call, so we have a lot more topics that we can go into. And I think one of the first topics that we could talk about, Caedrel, is the Swiss stage being in the LEC studio, because this is something that a lot of people have been really upset about. They feel like going from venues like even 2 years ago, 6,000 person venues to 200 person venues is a sign that League esports is dying. So Caedrel, tell me, is League of Legends esports completely dead?
Well, I wouldn't say it's dead. I definitely think two things have happened. One, and these are just assumptions, right? One, it's just budget cuts across the board, and they at the start of the year were like, where do we cut budgets? And obviously LEC took a hit, a lot of tech companies took a hit, and then they maybe targeted World Swiss Stage as a hit, which really sucks. Or two, something went wrong in their planning and they had to fall back on going to the studio in Berlin as like a fallback option because something went wrong for something they wanted to maybe get for Swiss Stage. Obviously it sucks. Like I've been to the studio, Yamato's been loads of times. It's small. There's not a lot of seats. They revamped it. I hope maybe they can like do like seating on the floor. There's a lot of space on the floor or some shit, and like actually branch out and make it bigger because it's gonna be very depressing to have like the best teams in the world compete in a tiny studio. I remember Worlds 22 when group stage was in Madison Square Garden, like the Hulu theater. It was bonkers, man. Thousands of people, like all screaming in like just group stage best of ones. It was like the most insane atmosphere ever. So the thing that's gonna suck is like the atmosphere will be bad. Like I really think that you'll see like a big play and there will just be no noise from the crowd, I imagine. Or hardly any noise, which is just the worst part when you're at an international. You're telling me for like someone at, you know, you're essentially only getting that from quarterfinals onwards, right? Which is like 7 best of 5s, you'll get a crowd noise, and then the last 2 weeks of the first 2 weeks of the tournament, you'll get nothing. So, it's gonna suck big time.
Yamato, you have any opinions? Yeah, okay. No, okay, League is not dying. I might have just been I might have been joking with that one, but Yamato, let's hear your take on the Swiss stage being in the LEC studio.
Look at this smile.
Bro, especially for us, bro. Like we are tired of watching LEC finals in that fucking studio. we are sick and tired of watching LEC finals. I didn't have a visa when we were in group stage in New York, but I was backstage. Like I was drafting like in a toilet. Like I have told this story many times of like me like looking at a screen and I'm like drafting and I'm telling the referee, I was like, boy, I don't hear them. Yes, you do. The referee says, I was like, okay, fuck me then. And then it's like I'm looking at my screen and the C9 players are like crossing me. It's like Fudge stops and looks me in the eye while I'm drafting against T1,
this is different Fudge. This is 2022 Fudge. He was a big guy back then. Like now he's gotten in shape. Like he's fucking going to the gym all the time. But that was a different Fudge, bro. You couldn't look through him.
It was crazy, but it's like the atmosphere, even from backstage, was completely mental. And this was, of course, like the group stage. I think, like my concern about the whole league dying topic is there was the whole conversation with who is what's his name, Nick something.
Nicolo.
Because they were talking about 2024, 2025, they're going to make the biggest investment in League of Legends esports. It's going to blow our mind in terms of the changes that are coming. And for me, I'm worried that the player-based growth and the growth in numbers is kind of has like peaked, and we've reached saturation and it's just going to stagnate. It's like I'm just thinking about how they rolled out the whole Faker Hall of Legends Bro, like Faker is getting worked to the bone. Like even T1 are doing fucking fan meets before they're arriving in Europe. They are just working Faker to the bone. They're trying to milk him dry until his arms completely give in. Like I feel like in terms of where we are going, I think the point where Faker retires, I think the player base and the viewership will just keep dropping until death. That's
nice.
my theory.
So we're all just fucking jobless in like a few years.
So we're just hoping a Faker does well.
Fuck yeah! All right, I'm gonna have to change my tune, man. I'm a Faker fan now. Faker, please don't make me homeless.
What do you think, Dom? What's your vibe, Dom? Tell us your vibe.
I mean, I feel like they had a very extreme way of going about things. It seems like Riot had a big change where they're like, okay, this like right now, this is when we're cutting everyone. Where I don't feel like there was a like long period of time where it was being super successful and then like there was a big drop off this year. So it felt like there was a very like strange point in time where there was a mentality shift in Riot with how they decided to like try to run everything as like cost neutral as possible. It felt like for a long period of time, the way that they kind of operated esports and their business was that it was a glorified marketing tool and they were fine losing money on esports in order to have their game have that core esports audience and have the people feel connected. And it feels like they just had a big mentality shift this year to try to make it as like budget friendly as possible. And it seemed like it was just like they hit a switch. Like they just went into a room one day and they decided like, okay, we're done investing like huge amounts of money into esports. I see you want to say something, Caedrel.
I was just I just listening and thinking. I was like thinking of other esports and stuff, and like what the landscape of things is like. Because I mean, you're right. Like this all started as just a marketing tool for them to make money on the game, and I wonder. I feel like you can point to so many different things. I think you can like point to like domestically for the LEC example, you can point to many factors. You can point to like star players leaving. You can point to the quality of gameplay getting worse. You can point to the fact that they've cut the budget, so there's way less content coming out from like the casters that want to do all this content, and all these things are like dominoes that are just adding up to a big problem, right? I feel like if you could have a magic wand and fix one issue, I think it would not solve the whole thing, right? I think it's just a lot of different things intertwined into one another. But my hope for esports, at least, is that if Riot ever decide like, yeah, we're burning too much money now, we're actually just going to cut being a TO in the first place and not do any tournaments, and we're just going to kill these domestic leagues, and all that debacle happens. I feel like when it gets picked up by third parties, which I think it would have another spike again. I have this like sensation in my head, like if third party tournament organizers came in, it would have another spike. And I also think like League IP is really powerful, and I think as much as League of Legends player base might be going down, I think the League of Legends like IP and champions and how recognizable they all are and the series and games, they have such a strong foundation that if they wanted to do what the Valorants of the world, the Counter-Strikes of the world do, or the Overwatch of the world do, where they just like cut the game a bit, update the graphics engine, and then release it as a number 2, that could be another boon. But I just feel like there's no like fix, which kind of sucks. Everything's just kind of been drained across the board. From like viewership being drained from like LEC is just so many splits, you know, and like people are just kind of fatigued. And I wonder if fatigue's also a big factor. And how do you like boost this back up again? I don't really know what the answer is.
I think it's hard. I think it's trying to find the most efficient way to invest a little bit more money to the point where you're actually, or it doesn't feel bare bones, because I think the biggest issue for viewers is that they are wanting very key pieces of content and things that just don't appear. So people are like, hey, like, where is my summer split tease, or where's my like summer tease going into LEC? And then the one that they get is just feels like it's a bunch of B-roll. It doesn't feel like it's the old LEC tease, you know, where all the players are just involved, and it just feels like more natural. So I think the biggest thing is, what can they do to make the community still feel like they care without spending as much money as they did before? I think this is like the biggest question for them to answer. Because go for it, Yamato.
No, I just wanted to add that like death. When I mentioned death, it doesn't need to be a bad thing, because I think like some of the decision making along the way,
good
like,
death, nice.
Some of the decision making along the way, I think everyone of us, or like, at least I was, like, I think Caedrel, you were already playing back then, like season 2, 3, right? You were a young man playing solo queue.
Season 4, yeah. Season 3, season 4, yeah.
4? Okay, well, back in season 2, they were talking about making the leagues happen, and I got giga excited because there was a guaranteed like pay, but there was like this famous scatter video about how he is worried that it's going to take away from what is actually, great about esports. I think somewhere along the line, through like the VC investment, the franchising process, this process of trying to make it into something that it isn't, I think that all of these things are costs that everybody is paying for now. And I kind of like the vibe where maybe it needs to get to the point where the actors involved are doing it from a place of great care. And maybe it's going to get to that point, because sometimes when I'm watching like Smash tournaments and they're like all in that venue and it's like they're sitting on like these shitty ass chairs, like that brings me nostalgia. That brings me so much nostalgia, and it brings me back to like tournaments I played back in season 1 and 2 at random places, But it's hard to find the balance, because obviously I want people to get paid, I want people to be able to have a future, but it always came from the right place, because there was nothing to, let's say, like fucking harvest from esports just yet. And now I feel like people are just paying the price for what it is. And maybe on Riot's side too, like they were overspending in the past for sure, because we were playing regular split games at massive fucking arenas because they wanted that image of, look, League of Legends esports is so legit. Look at the crowds, look at the fans that we have, just to be able to sell it as a marketing point.
I think there's a couple of things that I would want to touch on there. Number one, I remember this exact moment. Like, Scar was obviously my teammate at the time in season 2, and I remember this moment where, because we were like consistently like a top 3 team in North America, they always were giving us like the inside information. Like, they gave us privileged information. So I remember sitting down and they did a whole PowerPoint presentation about the LCS and like how there's going to be guaranteed salaries and all this stuff. And I remember all of us were like super stoked, because I guess we're just all dumber than Scar. We're like, this is fucking sick. Like, what, we're gonna make like 35K a year, like, or like 25K a year base or whatever the fuck it was. This is gonna be insane. Plus we have our Dignitas salary. We're gonna get a gaming house. Like, holy shit, we can like actually do this full time. We're all hyped. And Scar was the only one that was smart enough out of all of us to be like, don't you understand what could happen? Like, if they control everything, they could just decide certain players don't play. And I'm like, what? Like, what? Are they gonna ban one of us? Like, what the fuck are they gonna do? Like, what? Like, the hell is like, what's the fear here, Scar? Like, we're getting money. Can you just like shut the fuck up and be happy? And like, he was so right about so many things. And I think the way that they tried to NFL-ify League of Legends, I just think it didn't land with a lot of people, because the way that they saw things was, okay, we need to make it this like American product that everyone loves. We're going to make it a core part of like their day, but it's just, that is not what esports viewers want. And that's a very like American idea that they tried to impose on everyone. And it is an American company, obviously. Like, Riot was founded in North America. I mean, obviously now like Tencent bought it, but the idea, the way that they tried to push it was a way that didn't feel like esports. And when you consider how esports was in the early days, I think that there was so much more hype that came with qualifying to the tournaments. Even like the qualifiers would have viewers, because people were like, shit, bro, like, is one of these mainstay teams, one of the teams that we see at every tournament, not going to qualify? Like, I remember, for example, when we went to Korea, one of the sacrifices of going to Korea as a team is that we still had to play a qualifier for an IPL. There was an IPL face-off that we needed to qualify to. So we had to play the qualifier to this tournament on like 250 ping from Korea. And because of that, we ended up obviously losing and we didn't qualify for the tournament. But having like the fear of like teams, not making the tournament, I think was a whole thing that made esports really hype back in the day, especially when you consider relegation. Like, everyone liked watching relegation, unless you played in it. If you played in it, that shit was fucking miserable. You're stressed out of your mind, especially when they had like the 4-month break before they actually played the relegation matches in season 3. But if you were watching it, it's like everyone wanted to know, like, holy fuck, is this team just going to be kicked out of LEC? Like, this is one of like the biggest teams ever. Is this team going to get kicked out of LCS? Is it going to get kicked out of LEC? Like, it just had a certain type of hype around it that they moved away from in favor of stability. But I don't know if like in the long run that actually did make the product better? Because I think at this point we see franchising and there was so many like bad actors and things like that.
Yeah, but I think the main thing about back in those days was like you could make a team and none of you would be getting paid. But you say, well, if we qualify, then like we're like if you qualify at the LEC, then we can actually start getting sponsors and paying and stuff like that. But it feels like now the barrier for entry is just millions. Like if you don't have millions, you can't get in. And you can maybe like if you're a big influencer, maybe like start an ERL team like Yamato did or Ibai did and start building slowly. But having open qualifiers or having tournaments where CLG can go to Korea and compete in OGN against Korean teams and like all this hype around the idea of being able to
and
travel around and Dignitas. Didn't even know that.
And Navi, but they didn't make it out of groups.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Damn, you guys,
it is what it is.
That's mega old school. I didn't even know. I only knew CLG because of the finals thing. But yeah, I don't know. The idea of open qualifiers is great. The idea of like being able to just start a team, go to Challenger Series, qualify to the LEC, and then boom, you have your team there. Is like such a. It's fueled by passion. It's not fueled by money, right? Nowadays, it's just all about who's got the bigger bucks, or who can build the biggest super team, or you're in franchising anyway, so maybe you can take a year or two where you take it easy and not do as much investment because you're safe and we'll build it from there. So I think the idea of like having a team that can blitz through a qualifiers and everyone can kind of get behind them and see them get into the LEC and then start founding themselves is where it all started and how it all kind of began. So I think that ever since franchising came in, you don't really have those teams anymore, and the fan base of the teams that already previously did that are like slowly getting fatigued from the game itself, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, that would be crazy, bro. Like the Rat King team, XDD is the fucking tag, qualifying into the LEC. Like this would just be a whole different,
What if all three of us started a team and just sent it?
Yeah, I want to say the same, bro. I think the whole landscape would look different if it wasn't for franchising. Like we could probably be sitting on our own teams right now. Because at least during my career of like competing, there were many moments where I was like, guys, should we just fuck this LEC team and make a fucking ERL team and just make our own team? Like there was this time where PSG came in and everyone got hyped, like PSG and esports. Whoa! It was like Lucas Moura, like a football player in the fucking ad. We're like, damn, PSG is coming in. How crazy is that? I was talking with like the Splice boys. I was like, should we just fucking ditch Splice, not re-sign, re-qualify, and then we are on PSG, bro? Like there's so many teams that came in that made a splash. Like we had the Griffin rosters, right? Like the fucking Damwon and Sandbox era. We had like fucking Origin. There was a lot of teams that did their own thing, and that left a lot of room for innovation. And at the same time, I think it built a lot of hype around the fucking Challenger Leagues because it had like a fucking purpose. Well, one question I had to you both, like obviously you guys are fucking like the co-streamers, right? In terms of the outlook for the future, like if I'm a fucking organizer, right? If I'm hosting a tournament, I'm thinking to myself, bro, I have these two guys that are fucking doing the content that a whole ass fucking production can do. But they are doing it on their own, in their house, and they are bringing the same level of entertainment, same level of energy. Why on earth should I be investing into this shit, right? Why don't I just fucking let these guys run free? Let me cut some budget here. Is that something ever that crosses your mind? Or because if I'm a tournament organizer, that's the fucking move that I'm doing. That's the next thing that I'm cutting in line.
Yeah,
well, I think I'm exactly I'm obviously different level than Caedrel, so I'm not sure I could speak to like any of stuff like that. Like I think that they just like allowed, they're like, whatever, like you could co-stream, it is what it is. But for like Caedrel, I mean, he's literally bigger than the broadcast at this point. So for him, I think it's like a completely different ball game where I feel like he's almost so big it's like scary.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It is. I don't know. I even get intimidated myself, right? It's like the thing I've learned the most when I was like a 2K viewer streamer, 3K viewer streamer. You can kind of just say what you think, right? But now, if I co-stream a league, there's like a lot of eyes on me, not just people sitting at home viewers, but on the upper side of things as well. And so my opinion can be very like detrimental or can sway things so impactfully. And so I have to be sometimes very mindful of how I talk, which has become quite difficult, I think, as time goes on. I think I'm going off Yamato's question here, but that's just the thing that I've noticed with growth of this size and like being as big as the streams are. It's like if I say one thing, I could just set a domino effect of an entire narrative that shapes the entire player's career or team. Or, if I say something bad about a team, this could shape what the team looks like and stuff like that. And it's quite scary sometimes. So it's not that I hold back what I say, but I think I just have to be very careful with my wording, and that stresses me out a lot. And I say it's from a position of privilege because it's so big, the streams, but this is something I get really stressed and anxious about. Is I think like I end the stream or a co-stream, I'm like, did I say something that's egregiously bad that could, impact them? And then maybe I'll get a talking to from someone about something somehow, stuff like that is definitely a bit of a struggle. But going back to your question of tournament organizers, with
if you need help with PR, I got you though. Like, just you can.
Yeah,
always come
it's
to
not
me,
PR. It's not so much public. It's more so. Yeah, it's not so much public, but yeah, it's definitely PR-esque. But yeah, I do think it's quite strange. I've thought about it a lot as well. Why would a tournament organizer put so much money in? I mean, even Riot to a broadcast, if people can co-stream it and just have insane viewers, right? You have like Tarek in Valorant. You have people like Onapixel in CS. People like us in League. The more people that co-stream it, well, I mean, if you count all, like, how many co-streamers are there for Worlds? Like 100. If you kind of count them all together and accumulate their viewership, it's insanely high. Like all of them, Ebais and Kametos or whoever it is, and everyone adds up. And then you ask yourself, like, if I'm investing millions and they're kind of sitting there just covering it, where's the overlap? Where's the exchange? How do I get something out of them because they're getting something out of me? And I think that's just the biggest question that I think co-streaming will face in the next year or two from Riot is what will Riot want or tournament organizers want, because I think they should get something, right? But right now they're kind of just getting exposure, and as much as the exposure is good, it's it can be detrimental to the broadcast as well, because it just makes it less sense for them to put more money in and even try harder when they can just kind of like offload a lot of the workload.
No, for sure. I really like what you've done with, for example, like I look at your content, right? Like what you've done with Chakarez, it's like produced. Like, this is fucking high level shit, And Riot is just sitting there. Damn, look at this, bro. We're chilling.
Yeah, the reason I do that, I feel weird because I feel like I'm doing. Like this year, I did content pieces that are similar to what like an official broadcast would do. But what I've learned over the last 2 years is a lot of people who watch the content are people who wouldn't watch if they weren't watching me, is a lot of like some of the feedback I got. So I started the idea of like, what if I went into a more official way of producing content for them, especially because I've realized, one, people don't watch a lot of domestic league. Like you'd be surprised. And I mean, you're sure you can see it with Worlds viewership, but I don't know what the term is. I'll say normie, let's say, or like average watcher. I think there's like hundreds of thousands of people that just come out for Worlds and that's it. Not MSI, just Worlds. They'll just come out for Worlds and that's it. And that's kind of where I target my content. Just people who, because I know a lot of people who watch the content on the daily, they probably know a lot about the domestic scene. I thought I'd just make a few videos that were more like official for those viewers and for the ones who kind of just don't watch the broadcast at all. So yeah, I feels weird to do like more official stuff, but I think it went well.
Yeah.
No, I can definitely like understand that. I mean, I feel like that is part of the whole situation that we're in. I mean, even this show is just like a supplement for, something that needs to be in esports, like in order to show more player faces and stuff like this. Obviously, for your episode, it's different because everyone knows who you are. But like for some of the lesser players, it feels like if they don't have these types of opportunities to come on shows like this, it changes like narratives a lot. And I think that's a huge thing that Yamato and I do, is just fighting against like common narratives, like the ones that we just like really, really hate. Like the Knight and Chovy are chokers. They're not going to do anything in this world, where I'm like, they're fucking good guys. Like they'll probably win eventually. Like these guys are fucking really insane. Like, so I think for like trying to be in the space, it is kind of like a weird angle, because you do want to like create the content that is missing within the scene. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know if that's stepping on Riot's toes. I don't know if they see the video that you released and they're like, oh, like, what the fuck? Like, why are we going to release a video then? Or they feel like you're, like taking away something. I think what it should show them is that these things won't cost insane amounts of money to get people like what they want. Like you can do a good fucking video with like a couple video editors. And if you just really make sure that you're putting the money in the right spots and you're actually like having the right type of idea with things. But yeah, I mean, I think that is an interesting topic. Something I wanted to bring up, and I think this is a good time for it in the episode, is just like fighting narratives as a co-streamer, because I know like we do it a lot on the co-stream or the co-streams that we do, and I know that like a lot of times I can see from how you talk about players that some of them just get really tiring. It feels like narratives are kind of outdated when it comes to a lot of players, or they hang back by like a year or two. when it comes to teams, players, things like this. Like, how do you feel as a co-streamer when it comes to like trying to kind of like be more accurate and like shape the perception of the community around whatever topics that end up being like hot?
Yeah, it's a difficult question because like when I first became a caster, right, one of the main pieces of feedback I got from a lot of pro players was like, thank you for being a caster, because you see a pro player's perspective, and a lot of the narratives that make look like they're doing something really stupid, I would be able to spot the fact they're not doing something stupid. They're just trying their best out of a bad situation, and it's not actually a bad play. You know, they're doing the right thing. It just looks really bad. Like whether it's, you know, flashing into a wall, you can kind of see where they're trying to flash and they're trying to pull off something really difficult. And so I always, as a caster, try to shape narratives differently and away from gameplay, especially from people being able to judge people from like silly plays. And I think that's like resonating in the co-streams as well. But I do feel like I fight a lot of narratives when it comes to the whataboutism style, you know. And it's like, well, you can say Knight and Chovy are what's a good example? I can't think of a good example, but people will always use history, or they'll use non-factors to argue against you. Like someone could have the best split of their life, but because they did this here at this time, they're not going to perform well, you know? Like, I'm sure when we get to Worlds, the Tarzan series will live rent-free in everyone's head last year. And as much as I agree, like, he kind of choked that series and his finals wasn't the best, using the basis that he was choking last year's Worlds, or Peanut was choking last year's Worlds, that he's going to play bad this year, it's such like a baseless argument. But you can't argue against it, you know? I can give you all these reasons why Peanut's a good player and why he out-jungled everyone in playoffs, and Timmy can just say, well, he choked last year's Worlds, and I can say, well, you're right, but he's really good, and he's probably going to play really good. And the second he chokes one more time, if it doubles down once and the same thing happens and their argument comes true and he makes a mistake, just one flash into a wall and they lose, your whole argument is he's choking. That's it. Like Peanut does one rel flash engage and that discounts his entire series. It doesn't matter how well he played in any of the games, he's a choker. And so narratives can be formed from people's like perception of one singular play, and they'll ignore every factor around it. And even through lots of time and years and effort and struggles that the player goes through, if they do that one same thing again, it's just over, one play. And it works in positive ways as well, right? Zeka had like an insane Worlds 2022. Last year, he was okay. He was like pretty mid. But this split, he's had like one of the best splits of his life. And if he goes to Worlds 24 this year and plays insanely well, then I think the positive side will, because he smurfed Worlds 22 and carried a lot, and maybe smurfs Worlds 24, let's say he doesn't win, he comes top 4, the debate will be like, is Zeka one of the best mid laners in history? And it's like, I can see where you're coming from, you know, and I agree that there's like a lot of good things around this player, and there's a lot of like singular moments you can point to. And the fact that it's happened again is great, but I feel like narratives can be formed on such small things, and they can be taken to such extremities very easily. And so fighting that battle with context is very difficult, because people ignore context and just say, but what about that? And it's like,
yeah. I mean,
I think that's the frustrating battle, right?
When I was talking about Hanwha Life yesterday on stream, like it felt like the way that people were talking about the team, or like the general perception is like, well, Doran and Peanut are chokers, but Zeka is good internationally. So does that like cancel out? Like, how good is the team going to be based off this? And it's like,
bro, that's like me when I like order a fat fucking pepperoni pizza and I drink with a green tea and I'm like, well, it's a 1-for-1, you know, like I'm drinking green tea and I'm eating a pizza. Like, it actually is not that unhealthy. That's exactly what that is.
I mean, I can see it actually when you put it like that. I mean, that's actually some good co-fights. Maybe they're onto something here. Like maybe they know what's going on. I mean, Yamato was doing that the whole time he was in Texas. Bro, if you saw like the way this guy like was able to eat food, and then he would be like, yeah, you know, but it's fine. You know, we went for a walk and it canceled
it out. That's me, bro. I'll eat something really salty and just drink water and be like, that cancels it out, right? And someone's like, well, not really.
And then you get a kidney stone at 32 and you piss out a rock. But, you know, I don't know. I'm not speaking from personal experience, obviously. I'm just saying that could happen in the future. And if it does, it fucking hurts, by the way. But Yamato, I thought you wanted to dive in.
No, on the fucking narrative thing, like I agree with the notion that's like there's like certain moments that are some more digestible for people that consume the entertainment product in like a stupid way. It's like, if, for example, when I always make this example, it's like when I watch Formula One, I'm so dumb. I don't know shit. I'm like laughing at the memes. I'm eating up like I'm watching Drive to Survive. I don't know shit, bro. Like this is like probably like the probably like for the Formula One like buffs, they're like, this is the lowest form of like Formula One. This doesn't mean shit, bro. I'm sitting there like enjoying the drama. I'm so dumb. And I think for the majority of people that like consume things, they want to like grab onto something that they understand. It's like, this guy died here in a way that sometimes I die, so he must be really bad, and I'm gonna hold on to that for their life because that's like digestible. Like there's some narratives. I remember like there was this post that we like. I was sitting with Dom, and there was this post in your rat community because it's flourishing, it's good.
Oh.
And I was like, who is the best player of the 2020s? And the majority
Did you see the post,
of people.
Caedrel?
I don't remember
See
that
that
post
one?
though. I don't
Okay.
check
The
it off
majority-
stream. Maybe if I saw it on stream, then yeah.
Okay.
Because-
So
Go
keep on
ahead,
going,
go ahead.
Yamato. No, I was
No,
gonna say
say-
we have to ask him though who he thinks the best player of the 2020s
Oh yeah, let's
was.
start there. Yeah, let's start
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Who I
Okay,
think
so
the best
before
player of 2020s is?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
2020. So 2010s easily Faker. 2020s, who's
Yeah.
the best player of the 2020s? It's hard to do it on the spot, but
yeah,
I feel
maybe
like
it's
you'll just
Chovy, I guess, but I'm not sure.
that's same line of reasoning we all had. So you're right there with us, Caedrel. We're sitting there. We're like, yeah, like Chovy has been fucking insane. I mean, Knight's been fucking insane. Like these
Yeah.
players are crazy good if you consider like their whole bodies of work. The name that was
I think
coming up the
Showmaker's
most,
maybe there as well.
yeah, Showmaker had really insane like first couple years and then kind of fell off in the latter couple. But that's where our minds are. And then the name that we saw was just Beryl. Like everyone was like, Beryl is the fucking best player of the 2020s. And the whole time Yamato was here, when we were watching the like KT series, for example, we said, hey, let's pretend that Beryl was actually held to the standard. People legitimately believe that Beryl was like the best player in the 2020s. How fucking more critical would they be? Like Chovy breathes wrong, and people are like, Choker, you fucking suck. Like fuck you, Choker.
Yeah, I can see what you
Garbage.
mean.
But like if Beryl like ints like 4 games, it's like Giga Chad Beryl. Look at him on Rel. He's coming into the team. Flash ults, like misses everyone, grease the
Yeah.
entire thing. And people just
Beryl
sit there, they're
on
like,
DRX last year was
yeah, he just ran it down like so hard, and people are just like, yeah, but I mean, like, what can you do, bro? Like, he's a Giga Chad, like he's the shot caller, you know, 2 world championships, and then how do you argue against it, man? Like somebody says,
Yeah.
like 2 world championships, like what do you got, fucking bum ass Dom? And I'm like, all right, I mean, I guess you got a point. I mean, Beryl is the fucking, maybe he's just the GOAT.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny, guys, because like that's what you're fighting against, right? You always have the but what about this, but what about that, like argument, and people will always find one if they're convinced that this player is bad, they will always find one way to paint them badly, right? No matter how many times you disprove a positive, the negative from them with a positive, they'll always find one thing, whether it's choke, whether it's accolades, international success, like skill level compared to others. But this player is better or was better. They'll always find ways to discount it. So that's just the problem. When someone has like their mind made up that this player is insanely good or insanely bad, they'll always find a positive or negative to like defend the argument. And so you kind of end up chasing your own tail at that point with, trying to disprove the fact that these are the way it is. And I feel like what I've learned is it just becomes you're screaming into like an empty room at the end of it. Like you're just kind of screaming to yourself, because no matter how many times you try and phrase it differently or paint a player in a different light, it's only until something like a narrative breaker happens, Like, for example, if Hamalife win Worlds, I think, and Doran plays well, that will probably break the Doran Choker narrative, right? I would hope. I think something drastic has to happen for that narrative to break. Like the Chovy choking title probably will end if he wins Worlds, I hope, So I think there's not much you can do to argue against these people when they've had their mind made up, I don't think you can sit there and have a talk with them for an hour, every single one of them, to convince them. So
Oh,
yeah,
I try. I try. I just fight like my Twitch chat. I just turn on my stream. I fight my Twitch chat for like 8 hours a day, and then I just turn it off. And I just like, the fuck did I just do with my time? Why?
And then
I
your
just stream
credibility will
normally?
get questioned if you're fighting the other side of the argument and the player does something else, right? If your fight, like I was fighting very hard like last year, I put Doran very highly and I rated him really highly, and I said, this guy's so good. Like, don't sleep on him coming to Worlds. He's really talented. He's like,
And then
I
the
promise
flash
this is
happened.
the year of Doran. That Gen G BLG series happened. My whole opinion is discounted, and that's why I said if Doran comes into MSI this year and completely chokes it again, I will never rate him above top 5 for the rest of my life, no matter what he does, because I argue and defend the player so hardly because I thought the narrative was really bad around Doran coming into Worlds already. And then that happened and it doubled down. And no matter what I say now, it's like unfightable, right? So,
yeah, true.
Today's episode is brought to you by Turtle Beach. I have to say, their headset, we got the Generation 3 600 Stealth, which is, usually with wireless headsets, they are wireless to a certain degree, and then you have to charge them, and it messes you up. And then they give you these short cables, and then you're like playing like this, sideways. The beauty of these ones is, like I've been using them now, is that you have 80 hours of battery life. 80 hours of battery life is completely mental. The battery life has really, really carried me. And I am very, I do animations. When I die in League, I like do this shit. And if it wasn't wireless, it would mess me up completely. I also have a big ass head, so it's very important that it fits comfortably for me. Dom also has a big ass head. Tell me, Dom, what has been your experience with the Turtle Beach headphones?
I mean, the best thing, like you just said, has been the comfort for me, because when I stream for long periods of time, I'm not somebody who does earbuds. I'm not somebody who does speakers without a headset. I always have a headset on. So the number one thing is that when I'm streaming for long hours, if I'm going to be doing a Worlds co-stream or I'm going to be doing a long LPL stream, that at the end of the day, when I take off my headphones, my head doesn't hurt. And these are just comfortable headphones. I feel like the fact that it is wireless, it does feel light on the head. It has good cushioning on the sides. And that's what I care about. I want to hear good quality audio, and I want it to just be comfortable. Turtle Beach delivers on both. So I'm very happy with the headset.
At Turtle Beach, they have more stuff than just headsets. They have all the gaming gear options that you need, all the accessories. The headsets are the specific top objects that we've been using. But nevertheless, of course, we have a code for you guys. Get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today. For limited time only, head to turtlebeach.com and use code TSD for 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off your order at turtlebeach.com with promo code TSD. That is turtlebeach.com with promo code TSD. Use it now and do your ears and your head a favor and keep yourself light and crispy. Is there any time where you guys like went too far? Like I have this example of like for the longest time, I'm like defending like Broken Blade, because whenever it was always the same conversation around LEC was, oh, this player is doing bad, replace him with Kazi. Like whatever AD it is, they should get Kazi. And then for top play, it was always, they should get Irrelevant. And I'm like, I think Irrelevant is good. But I fought back against that to the point where I'm like, shit, am I just flaming Irrelevant? Just because I'm fighting the narrative? Have you guys ever caught yourself in this motion where like you are pushing against something so hard that you almost end up on the other side of it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm having this right now personally with Faker. It's like I have this thing coined, like the Faker trade, where just at level 2, he'll just take some like horrible trade where he just has to base and buy refillable, or he'll just die, and I'll just be like, oh, this is like the Faker trade. This is like when he just like griefs his late. And I'm trying to point out that like everyone thinks Faker is the GOAT, right? Like anyone who like really is being honest has Faker as the greatest player of all time. And I also believe Faker is the GOAT. And I think he was like good in spring. Like but to be honest about like his level of gameplay right now, it's hard for me to put him above many of the other LCK players. I have him as one of the lowest rated LCK players coming into the tournament. And it feels like when you're trying to fight against the narrative, it's like you become so critical of their gameplay that it's like you're being overly critical. It's like, are you even being fair at that point? I feel like that's one of the ones that I struggle with, because obviously Faker is the most popular player, and then like I have the beef with T1 fans, right? So like people are always just ready for me to have like, I think I had like Faker in the mid 40s in my top 70 when it came to like players of World. So like I'm always like, just pissing them off. But that's one where I feel like I am definitely on the other side, where I'm just like, I don't know. It's just very hard for me to accept when a player is viewed that much differently. Like, for example, Zika is so fucking good. Like, we all watch Zika. This guy is so fucking good in LCK. But like, people just have like a weird perception of him. I feel like the narrative hasn't caught up. Like, for example, I had him a top 5 player coming into Worlds, and I don't think that's a very extreme take. I think that that's fair. I think you could even make the argument that like, if you really count playoffs hard, I think you could make the argument he was better than Chovy in that in throughout the playoffs. So I think that there are a lot of things to move, but it feels like when the narrative hasn't caught up, you just look like you're fucking psycho. Like I just look like I am just mentally ill, which obviously I'm not. So that's my piece. That's my 2 cents. Like I'm just throwing that in there.
Yeah, a lot of people miss like for example, a lot of people, and this will be true when Zika gets to Worlds, will be like, oh, pick a Kali. Why isn't he playing a Kali? Or Sylas, why isn't he playing Sylas? And there'll be like two things. They'll be oblivious to the meta, right? Because they haven't been watching League or they don't care about the patch. And they haven't watched Zeka since Worlds 2022 because that was the last time they properly saw him pop off, right? So when like I would say like quite a handful of viewers rock up to Worlds, they will expect that from Zeka, right? And so it's quite difficult to... I think there's a lot of people who consume like loads of League content, who I think a lot of us make probably daily videos for that they watch. But when it comes to the internationals, a lot of people do look up for content that simplifies the idea of what's actually happening, right? And what the players look like and what their form's like. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see the narratives coming into Worlds. But I mean, I think all of us watch the most League of Legends combined of anyone right now in the world when it comes to major regions. So I'm sure we've got like our own opinions based on players, right? And not that we spread our own narratives, but we have our own opinions that people might take and run with. And sometimes I have this issue where someone's like, oh, but you said this about this player. And I'm like, did I say that? Or are you just saying that to make me think that I said that? And now you want me to believe that I said that. And that happens to me. I don't know if you guys ever get that, but like every now and then someone like, yeah, kind of gaslit by viewers to believe that you said a narrative from like 6 months ago. And you're like, what the fuck? Did I say that? And then I just like go a bit crazy sometimes. That's all.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've had this problem before. Caedrel and I have talked about this like off stream, where you watch so many games that they all like blend together, and then you like people start asking about like a game from a series that was important that happened like 3 days ago, and you're like, the fuck happened in this game? Like, did I watch this shit? Like, what the hell even happened? And then you have to get a couple clues. You have to like see draft or something. You're like, oh, this is the game where like Doran played Camille and like completely ran it down or something. Like you need these context clues to like really just clue you into exactly what you watched. Yeah, because exactly. Because all the games just become one. It's like you've watched too many fucking games, and it's like you get an overall idea of the landscape and how teams play and stuff, but it's very hard to pick out like the specifics.
Now that we have the trident of most watched league, is there some narrative we want to kill together here? Is there something that comes to mind?
Oh, damn, we're like the council.
Oh,
we are the council.
Council is in session.
Ooh.
What is the narrative we want to kill?
It's a meeting.
The rat sack, the rat down.
The rat down.
What's the most frustrating narrative that I see? What is the most frustrating narrative?
You guys need to help me out, because I get obsessed by like the smallest things, and they.
I think what I've noticed is a lot of people get upset. And I think maybe a lot of people watching this from as a Western audience, a lot of people get upset why G2 is always rated top 8 in world tier lists. That's like a narrative that a lot of people seem to be like quite leaves a kind of sour taste in people's mouth, because I mean, I put G2 in my top 8 from last year's tier list and they bombed. I put them again in my top 8 this year, and people kind of question like, but Team Liquid's on a rise, you know, why aren't they above? Why is G2 always this one team? And I was doing this yesterday on my tier list, and I was saying things like, I found it hard to decide which Western team to put in top 8 between Team Liquid and G2. So the way I view it personally is I imagined a simulation of G2 versus Team Liquid, and that was the way I would decide the factors, right? And a couple of factors came to my mind as like gameplay analytical reasons as to, you know, I think Caps is just such a unique player that he can turn the tide in international best of 5, and his side laning in the finals was a detriment, and I think is a huge powerful factor that a team like Team Liquid would struggle against. Their mid to late game macro is like really high up there, and the narrative of G2's early games being bad is as much as it's true, their mid to late game is extremely strong. And I think Team Liquid got a lot of benefits in their early game from being extremely smart around the map, and, you know, having their bot lane base like 4 or 5 minutes and swapping and kind of like changing up the map and mismatching and stuff like that. And I use a lot of these analytical arguments, but everyone will always come back and be like, but Western teams suck. Why is there a Western team in the top 8? And, you know, it's like NRG made it out of groups.
I mean, there's normally a Western team in the top 8.
Exactly.
It's
statistically, it's
rare.
like, statistically, it's crazy to not get a Western team in the top 8 because of how much region kill you get in Swiss stage. Like, there is like a 50-something% chance that there'll be a Western team in the top 8. It's just a case of who gets the better draw and who you think's the strongest. So I think there always has to be a Western team, which is like killing. I think that should kill a lot of the narrative. Statistically, you should probably always put a Western team in your top 8 no matter what. And in skill level wise, I do believe G2 is up there, and I think they're better than Team Liquid.
Yep, I definitely agree with so I also like rate G2 higher than they should be based on how they played. And the reason for this is because when you look at a team, that has that high of a ceiling, you feel like that is what really matters at Worlds. Like normally, if you think about how Worlds goes, it's not teams that have like very consistent level that win Worlds. It hasn't been since, I guess, like 2020 Domlon that we've had just like a giga favorite go in and then just like look like the best team and just win the tournament. It never goes like that. Like we have the T1 win. I mean, we even had like the FPX win where they started really shaky in groups. Like it's like the team that has the ability to peak. And the thing about G2 that I personally like, and the reason why I rate them highly and I had them like over Dom1 and teams like this, is I feel like when you have good mid to late game, that is normally like the hardest part of the game to like actually get better at. But I don't think that it's hard to find ways to like bandage the early game. And that's kind of what G2 did domestically. Like when they just did those perma swaps starting at like 5 minutes, they would just find timers to, you know, swap their bot lane top, and they would just essentially continue swapping lanes over and over again and getting like, and they would just catch up in games by doing this. So there are ways you can band-aid your early game. And I don't think that it's that easy to execute, like to stomp teams internationally the same way you do domestically. When everyone's nervous, like when people are playing safer, I do think that internationally early game, like being super early game focused is not normally the key to overall success. And then also I think the G2 players have proven that they can play early game before. Like it hasn't been that these players are just dog shit in lane and they get stomped by everyone and they're not going to have a chance internationally. It's like they were just playing bad in lane for, you know, I guess a couple months, but also the team in general was playing bad. And when players have stuck together for a long period of time, I think you do have like that hope that they can figure things out. Also, I mean, MSI was not that long ago. They placed top 4 there. So I can 100% see the G2 point, and I'm also like with you on that idea that there's going to be a Western team that comes out, whether it's TL, G2, maybe even like FlyQuest makes a run. If you look at how Swiss ends up working, it's like I think last year there was something where it was like 66% chance that a Eastern team doesn't make it out just based on how Swiss works, because of like all the different iterations, like all the different possibilities. There's just a lot of times that when you start drawing, you get a shitty draw for a couple of the teams. Like some teams got blessed draws, like Weibo last year, giga fraudulent, like the way that they ended up making it out of Swiss stage. No one thought they were good enough. They drew pretty much only Western teams, energy in the quarters. Like it was pathetic, you know, and like, but they just got that draw. And then other teams like KT, they got these draws that were super hard. Only Asian teams. Like, how is that fair? I mean, it's just the luck of the draw, bro. That's how Swiss stage works.
Yeah, BLG was a free win. Bin was an easy son there for the Shy.
Don't you disrespect my goat like that.
Best top coming into Worlds 24, fathered by the Shy 1 year ago.
Oh shit!
Historical narrative.
Let me drop my G2. I want to add my G2 sprinkles before we jump to sucking off Bin, because I will do that on my free time all day.
Again, hell yeah. Tag team that.
G2, I think the main thing is like I mentioned, I think Mickey is top 5 support at the World Championship. And it's like, but Mickey was inting the whole split. But Mickey showed me enough that, like, when I look at the games of like the regional finals, I see that he's in tune with the ideas that I care about in terms of being first on the map, being in tune with everything that is going on. And for a player like Mickey, that is enough. It's like Mickey has such a large fucking tenure in terms of like the credit that he has as a player, that I know that when it comes to an international event, if he has 3 weeks to like iron sharp fucking focus on something, you know he's going to fucking deliver. And it's the same thing for Caps. It's like I rate G2 super fucking high because I think mid and support are like the most important roles in the game right now. Together with jungle, I think jungle support is arguable, but I think support I put up there because you just have so much more agency and free time because junglers actually need to clear camps. And through that, I'm putting G2. I put G2 7th. And I was arguing with myself, should I put G2 above T1, Weibo, Top Esports? Because these teams are weird as fuck too. Like these teams can be the best and they can be the worst at the same time. Like these are some weird ass fucking teams, which could maybe be our next topic of conversation. But just with some players, you give them the benefit of the doubt, even if they play bad for a split, and then toughen up when it actually like matters. until it gets to the point where Mickey and Caps have like run it down for like 2 years straight. I'm going to believe in these players because in my mind, like these are probably the two best players that Europe have like ever produced in terms of like just quality and being able to like compete internationally. Like the main question, right? And the main concern is like how well is Yike going to do? Because that's like the main question for me. But I think that in regards to everything else, I think G2, I think macro-wise, they can compete with the best. I think in terms of champion spread, the preparation, like they play fucking everything. Like Caps, maybe his Yone looks bad, but every mid laner has like their own kind of quirk, you know, in terms of what they like to play. It's like Zeka prefers like the Yone and the Akali matchups. Maybe seeing Zeka play Syndra feels weird. And then you have Showmaker not wanting to play ADs. I can see him play Syndra, whatever. Like everyone has their quirks, while Caps is he has a kind of a wide spread in terms of what he plays. And I think like prep-wise, they are super good. But then the main thing that concerns me is just how do they wrap up the early game and how do they make their lane phase like consistent? But that's something that Dom, you mentioned as well when I was over there. You said this is the easiest thing to practice, and I agree. Like when you scrim the first 10 minutes of the game, like that is something that you like. You get volume on that. You don't get to practice too much of the macro aspects because you require 10 people to tango, and often in scrims 10 people don't want to tango. Like one guy just just being a brute.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I also think like flexibility wise, G2 has always shown like they've got something prepared. Worst case, they're gonna bust something out, whether it's a champion or a map rotation or some kind of play that's unique to their style. And I also think like this year, they had a pretty decent year, you know. I mean, you can say the almost BT1, even discounting that, the top esports win was actually pretty massive, I think, for G2 believers, you know. Whereas Team Liquid's just been kind of fathering Fnatic. But what I will say, like, as a final thing is, I don't know if I don't want to put words in your guys' mouth, but I just want people to realize that we don't say that teams are good and bad out of too much. We obviously use analytical reasoning, right? And we give our opinion on what our feeling of the teams coming into the internationals are based on what we've watched all year. But the reason we do this is because we are here to tell the story of the team. And if we don't tell it honestly, we do a disjustice to that team. As an example, we think G2 is a good team and should make top 8. If they don't make top 8, that shouldn't be an expectation. That should be a disappointment. Similarly, we say that a team like T1 looks bad coming into international. If they win Worlds, that should tell the story of their growth throughout that tournament, right? Because they didn't come in as a strong team. And if we come into these tier lists and we come into these opinions and say, yeah, T1's probably going to win again anyway, the expectation is just so shifted out of what actually should be happening. Gen G and BLG should be in the finals this year, this Worlds. If they don't make it, that's a disappointment. If BLG gets knocked out in Swiss stage, that is pathetic. And that should be the story that's told. And that's the reason we give these opinions, is because we give the bar of the teams, and whether they go above or below that bar, that's their story, right? And I think that's the most important thing that people fail to realize.
Yeah, and I think that also people struggle with like understanding when you're like joking and like when you're being sarcastic. For example, last year with Weibo, and you're like, oh, Weibo are the goats. Like obviously anyone who watches your stream will know that like you actually think Weibo is like kind of dog shit coming into Worlds. Like,
yeah, they were terrible.
Yeah, they're fucking terrible. Like everyone knows they're terrible. Like when I'm like, OMG, my boys, it's like the reason why I like that team is because they're just so fucking dumb about certain concepts. Like they're so ignorant about concepts in the game where it's like a miracle that they can ever even fucking win, you know? Like, and
that's
then when
the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty. Yeah. It's so frustratingly bad that it's somehow turned out good, and that's like the beauty and the magic of Worlds 22, right? DRX won Worlds. 100%. If the story wasn't told that they were dog shit coming into that tournament and 6th place regular season fucking riders, then you would say like, oh, the LCK won Worlds again. Like, there's no hype around this. But I think the stories start off with the first chapter, and we're here to give the first chapter, you know, and then the narrative just takes over, and those narratives shouldn't be taken in different directions based on random opinions and like you know, history and stuff and arguments that are just not valid to their like current form.
Yeah, bro, you found it. You guys found it. This is the number one narrative that frustrates us the most when it gets rewritten. When shit gets rewritten. It's like, Yamato, DRX run was not a fluke. I was like, do you even know what a fluke means? Yeah, but they beat all these good teams. Yeah, but they were good. Underdog. They were underdog the entire time. Like, bro, they fucking, what went down for shit to happen? Or even like the T1 run. It's like the T1 run last year was insanely impressive because I didn't think they didn't look, but they got smashed by Gen G. They look completely lost in the melee meta, and then they almost lost to Team Liquid. You guys remember how Pioshik was fucking kicking them in the head?
The Lee Sin, bro. Pyoshi Lee Sin was moving out there, bro. They took him back
bro.
to LCK just because of that game. They saw it. They're like, oh, man, you're still pretty Korean. All right, come back, bro. Like, let's try to make another miracle run.
Yeah, and like there's more stories. Like, for example, PSG, right? Let's say PSG made a top 8 run when everyone kind of like thinks they're mid. You like look at their year as a growth. You know, there was a period in time that I completely forget that they almost beat BLG in a best of 5. Like they were 2-3 down against BLG and MSI, which is like unfathomable to like discredit the fact that they actually did that. Are we all crazy here? Like this is the second best, perhaps maybe even first best team in the world, and 4 months ago PSG almost 5 gamed them. Like that is crazy to think about.
Yeah, no, it's super crazy to think about. I remember that series just because that was probably my least favorite series that I've streamed the entire year. Like that was the moment where I just hated streaming the most, was that BLG PSG series, because the whole time, like all the narratives that are being thrown at me is like, look at how fucking bad the LPL is. Like this is the number 1 seed. Think about how bad the other teams are. Like if PSG is the best team in LPL, then that means that like the other teams in PCS are also better than like all the LPL. It's like people just go so like extreme. Like they see what's happening and they extrapolate like the fact that PSG is just like, BLG looks stiff in that series. They look like kind of nervous. Like throughout the tournament, they loosened up. When they played against T1, they played better. When they played against Gen G, it just looked to me like Gen G was just a better team than BLG. I don't think BLG was like playing as a worse version of themselves. But those series are always super frustrating because it's like you can't. I feel like as a co-streamer, it's hard for me to like fully enjoy the series because I'm also trying to like always like contextualize what it means, and I feel like people's reaction to it is so opposite of what the reaction should be, which is like, look at this upset that's happening. This is fucking crazy. Like this is really exciting. Like this could be one of the most unlikely like circumstances that we've had. What happens if BLG goes lower bracket? But instead it's like, it's always look at how fucking horrible this whole region is. And a lot of times like there's just regions that I like, for example, I think the LPL is the region I struggle with this the most on, is like, it feels like so many people just want the LPL to be fucking horrible. Like, so then whenever like they underperform, it feels like I'm always fighting against that narrative. When Yamato was talking about the narratives, like what narrative would I want to combat the most? I think the one that I still see that I think is the most outdated and the one that I would like to combat the most, it's definitely the LPL is just a bunch of stupid players that have zero macro, that only fight to the death all the time, where it's like, yeah, I mean, like maybe bad tier LPL teams are like that, or like lower mid tier LPL teams have that aspect. But if you look at like the top teams that have came out of China for years, like the best team from China has good macro. Like they have fucking good macro. Like maybe not on the same level as Gen G, but it is definitely good fucking macro. Like BLG has good macro. JDG last year had good macro. I feel like the idea that LPL is just only fighting and it's just really like dumb gameplay and low quality as a result, I feel like that's the number 1 narrative that I just hate from watching so much LPL.
I think, bro, something that I wanted to ask you both, because I have this theory, right? I call it the bell curve theory. Maybe I stole it from somewhere, but I always explain it when it comes to
Yamato's theory.
It's fandom sizes. When they get to very, very large sizes, I accept that there's going to be, let's say, a level of craziness. There's like this bell curve means that like basically there's going to be people that dislike the team to certain degrees and then like the team to certain degrees. With big fan bases on the extremes, there's going to be the people that hate them to the point where if you don't hate them enough, you suck too and you're the enemy. Or if you don't like them enough, it's like if you are not fellatiouing the players on cooldown, then you are not one of us, right?
Yeah.
And I want to ask you both in terms of like how, like with your size, how you deal with these fan bases. Like I think the ones that stand out, so for example, the Casey fan base, right? There's moments where it can be irrational. There's moments where it can be extreme. T1 fan base. There's like all these fan bases that just have like these immense sizes, have those extremes. How do you guys deal with this? How do you rationalize it? I think it's generally like a good thing, but I'm curious to hear you guys' like opinion, because I accept that craziness is a part of like the size overall.
Well, I'll go first and just say that like as much as I notice that there's these two extremities of things, there's also the people outside that like either support or hate these extremities in a sense. So like if someone has an extreme take on a team, people will immediately jump on the fact that they have an extreme take and they'll want to see them fail. So I see a lot of like the extremity takes and also the people around them that are like trying to shit on them for the extremity take, which is quite a difficult thing to manage. I don't know, the most places I see it is just like on the social medias or like the Twitch chat, right, or on the channels like that. I think when I first started out being a caster and a streamer, as a person, I'm quite like a shy, reserved person, and I don't like getting into too many arguments, so I didn't try and piss anyone off, right? But as time has gone on, like especially this year, I've started to get like a lot less of a temper with these people, because they are, I feel like when it comes to extreme opinions on teams and like diehard fans, I don't have a problem if you're a diehard fan, but the second you start making it personal and telling like people to fucking neck themselves because they don't agree with your opinion, is where I like just kind of, I'm fed up with it. Normally I could just ignore that kind of stuff, but sometimes I either have to call it out or like ban or like tweet something degenerate about them. But I have like, I think I have like a big enough audience where there's a lot of these extremists, especially when certain teams play, right? I normally just try to ignore it and have like pretty strict rules around what's right and wrong, you know, like can we just act like fucking humans here? So when people are being extremely degenerate, I just try my best to remove or ignore and not kind of interact with it, because I feel like the second you interact with it, what I've learned is where you also become a target. The second you interact with either side, you're a target, you know? Whether you join the extremity side of being like, yes, I love them, everyone's gonna be like, bro, what the fuck? Like, you're not supposed to be like this biased. Why are you being such like a weirdo about it? And if you interact with the people who are extremely toxic and you tell them to like shut the fuck up, then the absolute gang comes, you know, and the army arrives, and now you start a fucking war. I'm sure Dom can tell you all about those wars. Like, for example,
your clip on a Discord, and then all of a sudden they'll come out like the same names.
Yeah, like
that's exactly how I picture them moving. Yamato, they just like scuttle out, bro.
Bro, I had this with K Corp this year, right? Like, I every other weekend or week, I would get like added or commented at or mentioned, or like people in the scene would get it and they'd like talk to me about it, being like, bro, this is so annoying. All these K Corp fans just keep like bringing up random shit or like attacking me for no reason or bringing me into random things because I said this one comment that's like kind of clipped out of context, or maybe they did say it and they didn't mean it in a bad way, right? They're just being critical. And so I just kind of snapped, you know. I was like, bro, this is just so infuriating. And the way I phrased it was like, obviously it was to do with booing Faker, right? And the way I phrased it was, I think that you don't really have a right to boo Faker because he's coming to your event to play in a show match against you. If this was Worlds quarterfinals and, you know, you were up one game and it was like intense and competitive and you're on the same level, I think that's when I don't give a fuck about things like booing and cheering. And, you know, it's at CS events, it's a very big thing, but this is like a for fun show match, you know, like what is the basis to do this on, you know? And that kind of got blown out of context to the point where, you know, well, not out of context. I think people saw it in a different light than the way I tried to phrase it. And a lot of people were shitting on me from K Corp, and that's when I kind of like attacked the hive. And then now every day I kind of get like a clip of me out of context or a tweet from like 8 years ago or something where they always try and like dig. For example, saying that Aiming's a good player instantly called me a pedophile defender, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, man, like this is going way too far.
Yeah.
So I think that I've realized after that is the second you like you try to call out or you interact or you try to defend yourself in that way, all you're doing is kind of like fueling the problem and just putting more fire on the fire. So now I just try to like just not interact with any of the extremity of the fan base when it comes to toxicity. I just like ignore it, mute it. If it's a Reddit post and I'm on stream, I just instantly remove it. If it's a chatter, insta ban, like don't even give a fuck. Because whether they're attacking me or like the people around them, just because of their like fueled opinion on their team, and I even though if it comes from a place of passion, I don't care. You know, like you're just like, there's blood in your eyes and you're out for it, and we're the targets, just go away, you know. I'm all down for fan supporting and stuff like that, and I'm all down for people cheering people on and like even sarcastically making fun of people. Sure, we can all have a laugh and a joke, but the second people start, you know, bringing out the stalking or like digging deep or telling people to neck themselves, then I think you got a problem.
Yeah. I mean,
just Dom, before you give your take, I just wanted to highlight, so we are all in the clear, that we are talking about like the very, very loud minority, like the 1% that both of us veterans. I just want to make that clear, because when we say like the fans of this team, we mean like the extremes, because the majority of people are like cool. Go ahead, Dom. I just wanted to keep that.
Put the helmet on. For yourself.
No, I'll just say quickly, like for example, K-Corp fans, all great, except that there's like a 0.1% of them which are horrible. Like I've met so many of them, and I'm homies with Yamato and stuff, and it was all great until that one time I interacted with the Ultra, and then boom, it was absolute shooting grounds.
Yeah.
Go wild, Dom.
Well, no, I was going to say that I completely disagree with everything Yamato said. When I say fan bases, I mean the entire fan base, 100%. Like, if you are any of these fan bases, the way I speak about it, you are just a bad person in my eyes. So so I'm just going to completely disagree with what. Okay, we're just getting everyone. Caedrel's getting ready to leave. Like, this is perfect. No, like, for me, there's a couple of things. Like, number one, so I have teams that I've been a fan of for like my entire life. For example, like I've been a lifelong Dolphins fan, which is a team in the NFL, American football, and we have sucked for like 22 years essentially. Like our team just fucking is just trash. You know, we haven't won a playoff game in years, and
sounds like
I can never. And like what's so weird for me is I can never imagine me being so upset that somebody called my team trash when it is trash that I started attacking them. Like, for example, like when K-Corp was 10th place in LEC in the beginning, like Yamato's my homie. He's the coach of the team. I'm like, yeah, they're just fucking dog shit team. I mean, if you're 2-7, you're just bad in comparison to the league. I can never understand why people take that type of stuff to like such an extreme level. Because for me, it's just being honest about the team. And even if you're a fan of the team, you should be able to like accept that the team is trash right now and that they need to make improvements in order to get better. So I've always thought that like the weird like stan culture that we've had, like I've just never fucked with it. Whenever I see it, even about things I don't care about, like K-pop, for example, K-pop stans, we see them all over the place on Twitter. I always just think it's like mentally ill to care about anything to such like a degree that it makes you act that irrationally. So I feel like for me, it's just like I can't help myself but to like randomly trigger the crazies when I see the opportunity. It's too easy. It's like when I'm in a solo queue game and like one person is fucking going off super hard, and then it's like for example, it's when a jungler is just freaking out in the game and you just type like jungle diff and then they're like, what the fuck? And then they start like come meet me like at this fucking address. I'm gonna kill. Like when they go to that point, there's a reason why people like saying jungle diff when the jungler is super triggered, right? Like for some reason, I just have that in me where I just want to I want to bring out the real craziness. When I feel it, I just want to like say the thing that triggers them. And obviously, that's probably been something that's been a net negative for my streaming career, like overall, you know, because people just they view me as some guy that like hates the actual T1 players. Like I actually just dislike the T1 players, and I want bad things to happen to them. But in reality, it's just like I actually think that I actually respect the team a lot. The thing that I hate the most, if we go back to narratives, is how unfair people are with the narratives around T1 because they are like the greatest organization in League of Legends history. Whenever like T1 is low rated coming into a tournament, if they end up exceeding those expectations, people make it seem like, wow, you're so fucking stupid this whole time for thinking it. Like, for example, last year Worlds, I think all of us had them around like 6th place coming in because they got smacked by Gen.G in the finals. And then the LPL teams were looking strong. I mean, we did have like all 4 LPL teams make the quarterfinals, 3 LPL teams make semis. So I think that there was actually like fair, there was just a fair like rating, a fair ranking from the analyst community on T1 going in. But it's just weird to see like how people will like hold that against you when it's like, dude, you should be happy. Like just like Caedrel was saying about rewriting the narratives, bro, you should be happy that your team exceeded expectations. But like, if I just said that the expectations were, oh yeah, T1 should win Worlds last year, wouldn't that take away some of the hype and some of the joy from it for you? Because if my team's a favorite, it feels way different than if the team that I like is an underdog or like somebody who's not supposed to win. It always feels so much better as like a fan when the team that I like is not a favorite and they end up getting it done anyway. Like those are the ones where you're like, damn. Compare it to the Miami Heat. There was a championship in 2006. We weren't supposed to win. That one felt so amazing. But compare that to when we had LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and all these superstar players on our roster who were expected to win. Even though we won 2 out of 4 years, it didn't feel anywhere close to the amount of hype. So I feel like people just, they get so emotionally attached to teams that they lose the like objectiveness completely. And for me, I don't know, like it's just, it's kind of like sad to me when that happens, because it feels like then I'm not even like doing my job anymore. I'm just saying random bullshit because, and I'm trying to like, what do people just want me to say? Oh, T1's the best team coming into Worlds. Like, is that what anyone really wants? It just seems like it would be like, it would make my job useless if that's what I did.
God, this is like our therapy session together. We're just getting it out there.
But
Why not?
I think it's You know, for me, it's funny because
I like it.
it's like I'm trying to think of like these sizes, right? It's like I'm like the Australia to your UK and America. Like when you guys ban people, they come to me. Like, this is my crowd, you know. Like I try to rehabilitate people, and like I have never had like a negative interaction. It's like you guys have fucking fan bases. It's like like when you're not streaming, it's like the rats that come through. Like I don't feel like they have fucking sharpened teeth, you know. Like, I don't feel like there's like some Caedrel like extremists that are like coming for blood. And I do feel like there is a certain degree of responsibility that you have when you have like fan bases of that size, because I do think there are certain fan bases that entertain the extremes because they create a lot of content, right? They create a lot of content. I remember like when I was a Fnatic, it was like the Fnatic Dragon Discord was like very upset about the fact that there was like MB saying he represents all the Fnatic fans, and it was like it just got like
he was going to G2.
Like he's taking all the Fnatic fans to G2. He's marching, like, and I was like, oh, this shit is just like weird, you know. Like I think to some point, it's like I think that when you're in a community, I think that everyone is looking for some form of like identity, right? And when your identity becomes, it's like I am the Fnatic fan, and the people that are less of a fan than I am, then these people are lesser than me. I am top fan, number one fan. I have this. I have the jersey, every jersey. Look at this Reckless jersey from 2014. Do you have this jersey? You don't have this jersey?
Signed by Reckless?
Signed by Reckless as well. I'm better than you. I think this is where it gets like very, very extreme. Not only Fnatic, I just use them as an example. I think this is the case for anything that has like a large one. But I guess the point I wanted to make is I think there is a degree of responsibility of what you entertain. And I guess like in the traditional sports worlds too, it's like you have many examples of like Messi versus Ronaldo, like hooligans, like breaking shit and whatever. It's like obviously those organizations or those teams, they take a great deal of pride and responsibility in making sure that like the fans that represent them aren't like encouraged to do like fucked up shit. So it's just a balance of how you like entertain it and how you nurture it. And I remember like we had this conversation Dom in the past, and you highlighted to me, it's like, bro, Caedrel has this many fans and no one ever like tries to find my address, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I
people
was
try to find your address.
Yeah. Well, so recently, before the last episode of the Sackdown, Yamato posted a picture. He's like getting ready to shoot the Sackdown with BB and Dom, and he posted like a clip of like the view from my house with like the Broken Blade Wikipedia under it. And from that, people were just like triangulating my house. Like they literally just posted back my address. Like that was like that was the normal response. Like, you live here. Like, all right, bro. Thank you, Yamato.
Up, that is
you're not even here to protect me afterwards.
It's just a faker profile picture. You're doing that.
Please, bro, please. No, I mean,
I leaked my address twice, like 3 years ago, and luckily nothing's come bad, and I'm moving out at least, which is good. But
where are you right now? Are you in your new place? Oh, is this where you're going to be living now?
Yeah. I just need to move everything over in the next month or two.
Damn.
New apartment
in London.
Yeah, in London, bruv. Easier to get to Texas, so I can have some of that meat that Yamato was having.
Bro, anytime. Bro, Yamato will tell you.
It made it sound like I just said Dom's meat. No, the meat in Texas.
Oh, wait, you're talking about the Texas meat?
Because
Brian, both.
Shit. Okay, never mind.
Brian just fucking slapping barbecue sauce on Dom's dong.
What goes on this podcast, bro?
No, this is the content. Like, people have been needing this. Oh man, look at that water bottle.
It's called Sackdown, bro. The Buckies. I'm so proud of this, bro.
You know what that is? You don't know anything about Buckies?
No.
So Buckies is in Texas. Before we get into more stuff here, you could, if you're a viewer, you could just skip in 2 minutes and you get back to like the actual content. Buckies is a gas station in Texas, and it's like the biggest gas station in the world. Petrol station. Sorry, Caedrel. So
yeah,
it's a
gas.
petrol.
I got gas. That's good.
Okay, never mind. All right. So gas station, and it has something like 110 pumps at each Buc-ee's. And what it is it's like, I guess, how would you say this? You know what square feet is? Like, or is it like meters squared? So you can think in square feet. So
fine.
okay, so it's 80,000 square feet. This gas station, and there's like multiple different ones,
So
and they
it's
have
massive.
like. So they have like barbecue that they actually like cook in the gas station. Like you would think that like this would be some like disgusting thing, but they have like a barbecue station. They have like they make their own fudge in-house, sandwiches, like all this food that you could potentially want. They sell like merch. They have a mascot in there. Like it is just
Everything, bro.
it's the most American thing you could ever think of. It is just a super insanely sized gas station with all this food. Like good food too. Like you go, like we went there.
Yeah.
We drove an hour and a half just to show Yamato what like the food was, and man, he enjoyed it, bro. He had like 3 sandwiches. He ate maybe like
3 burgers, bro. 3 burgers, bro. You can buy hunting equipment and you can buy pool gear, like to just pool gear and board games, and they have
But
30 flavors of beef jerky, and they have a fudge station, an ice cream station, a sandwich station, a biscuit station with the eggs in it, the breakfast biscuit in it, bro. Everything, everything, bro.
sounds like somewhere it's nice to live. No, is it safe to have barbecue fires in a fucking petrol station? Surely that's got to be like a safety hazard, no?
bro. If you think about the location, this might as well just be having like a store next to a gas station. This might like the distance between where the gas pumps are and like where the place is. It might as well just be 2 fucking different stores.
So if you're coming to get your petrol, you can also have a meal, stay in a fucking hotel, play a game of tennis, have some paddle, do some bowling, like have some fucking marshmallows, go
So
camping.
American. I love fucking Buc-ee's.
The most fucked up part, there was nowhere to sit. They just want you. They have all these delicious things, coffee machine, everything. Like it goes crazy. Nowhere to sit. Go to your car, motherfucker.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a truck stop. It's supposed to, like they don't have them in the cities. Like these are in between the cities, so that when you're like driving from Austin to Dallas, you can like make a pit stop and have like a good experience when you're just like having to use the bathroom and everything. So the way they market it is like super clean bathrooms. They're like the cleanest bathrooms you'll ever have. Because normally when people go into gas stations on the way to, you know, on road trips, the bathrooms are just giga disgusting, right?
No,
Like,
that makes sense. Yeah, I guess US you just drive everywhere, right? Whereas in EU you just have a train in a city every like.
Yeah. So like they just tried to make the experience nicer. So I don't know. I was impressed by what. So I took Yamato. But anyways, where are we going back to here? I feel like what I wanted to talk about at some point was so to bring us back completely, what we were talking about was the situation with having a big fan base and your fan base like not attacking other people. Like I feel like your fan base is huge, but I never feel like your fan base has the same level of like toxicity. The most I see is whenever I like go on your stream or some shit, or like my name is brought up in chat, there'll always be like 5 people that will just be like, fucking Dom, please, no, anything but I will dominate. That guy is so fucking cringe. Please just, I'm turning off the stream if he joins the stream. Like there's always a little bit of that.
Yeah, then I tell them to shut the fuck up and stop being a bunch of bitches, because honestly, like, it's so annoying. Yeah. I don't know. I guess maybe it's because I don't have a team. I don't know if it's different if you're just a streamer. Maybe if I had a team and like the team was competitive and people were fueled by the passion of the competition, and then if they lost, they were upset, then they would take that anger out on somewhere. I guess maybe that's not there. So maybe they're less toxic or something. But yeah, I guess they're well behaved, which is good. But yeah, I've only ever had really good experiences with most fan bases. It's just obviously the K-Corp thing that happened this year with one of the extreme fans was turned into a bit more than it should have, I think. But yeah, I
just wish that people could understand like when streamers are like obviously joking. I think that this is a thing. Like with what I always say is, if you transcribed what I said in a stream, like it would probably look like the most fucked up thing of all time. But if you actually watch the way I'm saying it, then it's way different. So for example,
intonation.
The intonation, everything, the tone of everything. When I see Caedrel like talk about Weibo and he's like, yeah, the team's pretty bad, but like the Shy, like he's an inter, but he's like sometimes he plays really well, whatever. And then when Weibo wins, he's like, Weibo's the best team on earth. Like, and he's doing like, it's obvious that you're like playing it up, right? Like we're all like doing that same type of shit. when I watch T1 lose, like I'm like, yeah, I think T1's like one of the best teams in the world. These are their strengths, these are their weaknesses. Like I think they're kind of weak jungle support, but like I think Zeus is insane, Guma's insane. Like they can play through both of their side lanes. They have a very annoying style to play against, lots of counter picks, whatever. And then they lose the series, and I'm like, disband the team. Like obviously I don't mean the T1. Like they write down, it's like, and then IWillDominate said T1 should disband the team. They should all quit and start working in Bucky's gas station in Texas. It's like, well, it's like, okay, bro, it looks really bad on the transcripts, but like the way I said it, you know, like you could tell that I was playing it up a bit. I was joking a bit. And I feel like that kind of gets lost a lot in the community, especially because people don't watch, like people will not watch streams that they don't enjoy. So if they don't like you, I feel like the transcript of everything is what really gets you, because they start talking about what was said on the stream and it becomes a whole different thing.
People don't watch for context, they watch for narrative, and then when they get their narrative from maybe even your take, that's their narrative on you now. That's the Dom narrative.
I think it's bro, another difficulty is I think like within certain, like if it's like we are focused on the English, right? It's like the Swedish community legalized and non-existent. It's like, bro, it's just the Swedish portion of it is just people saying Jungle and pick me Jax, and then that's it. That's like the Swedish. That's the Swedish interaction with the scene.
And then they pop a snooze.
That seems to have gone global now. But my point being is, it's like I think, like when you have, like in the past we didn't have the translate function on Twitter, bro. I feel like that has opened like the gateway for something, because it's like how fans interact in Korea with each other and how they talk. There are certain things that are acceptable, unacceptable, that maybe doesn't translate so well in a different community. And when let's say the English side of it interacts with, like when they see, like Dom, for example, my commentary was translated for the longest time into Korean. And I just see these videos, I just open up, I just see my face on the thumbnail, 300k views. I'm like, what the fuck happened? And I do the same. I press the translate function on the comments. I'm like, what the fuck? They want to kill me? Like, no, what did I say? I don't even know what they're translating. And I think it's the same. It's like within like the French community, they are. It's like when they were looking at the KC games, it's like through the lens of Kamito as a co-streamer. So it's like everything is very like positive, very positive towards the French players, the French team. So it's like when it's remotely negative from the outside, then it's such a whiplash, you know? Then it's like such an enemy, because in terms of how we interact, it's so different between like the language speaking communities, and that like adds like a layer of just difficulty, I think. And that's where there's a lot of like fucking roughness too. It's like, it's always scary. It's like people are translating what you wrote, and you're like, oh, and you press the translate. It's like, oh, I went to the gas station and I drank petrol. It's like, what the fuck? I didn't. No, that's not what I said.
There was one that was wild recently, where like I guess there's sayings in French that don't get translated accurately, but there was one where there was like Tiki put you in underpants, Dom, and I was like, the fuck? Damn. Who the fuck is Tiki? Apparently there's a French streamer named Tiki. And put you in underpants is supposed to be like take your clothes and make you like you know, you're walking around in your underpants like in the street, like embarrass you, you know, it's supposed to be the type of thing. So he was gonna put me in underpants, but like I was really confused at the time. I took took my pants off on stream. I was showing my underwear. I'm like, I have underpants on. Like, why does this guy want to put me in? Does he think I don't like? Do you think I don't wear underpants? Does he think I'm like free balling perma on stream? Like, what does this French fan mean?
Fucking commando.
Yeah. Like, it was just super strange. So I completely get your point, Yamato. Nice.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I think because we have all three of us here, I think we should like you guys.
Underpants.
Bro, world champion.
No.
Oh, sorry.
All right,
I'm already commander, bro.
Relax,
like usually on stream, I put on shorts, commander, bro. Free balling. Sack down.
Well, that's really why it's the ball. Yeah, the sack down.
The sack is lower than normal, bro. The sack is far down, bro.
It's bat winging, bro. No, but
bat wing.
Something that I really wrestled with is like there is these three teams at the World Championship, because it's like obvious top three: How Alive, Billy, Genji, however you want to place them. I think you can make arguments for all, right? But then the fucking 4, 5, 6 in T1, Weibo, Top Esports. I don't know if you guys have something different here, because I wanted to keep my I'm going to look at your tier list to make a tier list of your tier list. This is a meme that I'm running. So I wanted to keep mine like as untouched as possible. But these three teams, they are so weird to judge based off of their like playoff runs and what happened to them. They were so fucking up and down. How did you guys look at these three teams in particular? Where did you guys place them as a first?
I put Weibo in their own tier of. I had like a dark horse tier, and I actually put Weibo in there and PSG with 2 pieces of context. I said that with the inconsistency of Weibo and this, like I've seen games where Weibo looks perfect. I think they're probably one of the best jungle to bot playing teams in the world when they're locked in. You know, like when Tarzan can play something like Nidalee or Syra, and he hovers bot and they have bot push, and they can play for light and play these bot dives. I think they're one of the strongest teams. But the 2 things I notice is 1, if they don't have a pushing bot or they're losing 2v2, or 2, Tarzan wastes all his tempo bot side, then the game just falls apart so quickly for Weibo that you wouldn't even begin to imagine it. Like there was a game in the finals where Wei is down like a level and Tarzan spends 3 minutes in bot trying to poke them down, and then eventually he just loses. All this top side goes level down. And this is actually quite a common trend you'll see across a lot of their games where they actually just waste so much time around bot. So I see Weibo as a team that if they play that style well, they could make a run to top 4 at Worlds. But if they play this style poorly, they could get knocked out in Swiss. So my prediction for Weibo is I think that their swing is probably one of the highest in the tournament, both good and bad. So I put them in their own tier of I would not be surprised if this team is extremely disappointing, and I would not be surprised if this team randomly makes it to top 4 and then bombs really hard when they get to their semifinals match and just gets absolutely obliterated for no reason. That was my main take on Weibo. What was the other ones? It was T1 and
so there's Top Esports and T1, which
Esports.
like I think they both have the same quality. I feel like the reason why Yamato brings this up, all 3 of them have the same quality where they could peak really high and they could also just be like terrible theoretically. If I were to talk about like the T1 point here, like I think that T1 is a team where when you think about how T1 wins when they play well, everything looks super clean, right? Like if Keria gets like a counter pick support, I feel like Zeus still has the factor. He has like that X factor where no top laner wants to play into this guy, right? Like you can tell from how other top laners pick, he must be one of the most annoying players to play against because he can play everything, right? Like he's one of the guys that can play Camille into you. He can play, you know, the Yone counter pick. He can play all the range top laners if ever there's an opportunity for one to be good. And I think the thing about T1 is there's this expectation that they'll play better internationally, which I even have. Like I made a biased tier list and an unbiased tier list. My unbiased tier list was like, I think they're probably like a 7th best team in the world or something coming into this World Championships. But my biased one is they're going to make top 4. And I just think about like how they'll interact with other teams. But it's very difficult to place any of these teams because Top Esports also has, you know, high highs and massively low lows. I kind of feel like the way that Caedrel feels about Weibo, that's how I really feel about Top Esports, where like if TN gets like one of his good picks, if he gets like a utility pick or something like this, and they're able to play through their bot lane, they have like, you know, Mako Jackie Love on something that's strong. I feel like this team can just beat anyone, but they just collapse so quickly randomly. Like they'll lose one game in a series, they collapse so quickly. It's so hard to rate any of these teams. So the biggest issue I have with like Top Esports internationally is I just don't think you actually get many easy paths forward in the tournament. Like you're gonna just have just one of those series. You play quarterfinals against a team that might not even be considered like that good. Let's say they play against a team like G2 or TL that's like good, but not in like the top tier. They're not in the top 3 in the world. And you lose like game 1 and it becomes annoying and everything feels weird, like on stage and you're in front of a big crowd. You're going to be in this like fucked up setting. And I just haven't seen Top Esports succeed in that setting like the entire year pretty much.
Agree. I also think T1 is unique in their own sense where they have players that the best way to describe it is like taking Keria, for example. I talked about this on stream, but I think that Keria is a player where if you are blind picking for Keria and you give him no resources and it's an engaged sport meta,
horrible.
I wouldn't say he's horrible, but like I don't think he's anything special. You know, he's not
horrible,
he's not like a gleaming superstar. You know, whereas if you take a support role, you give them no resources, leave them out to dry. Players like On, Delight, Lahens will probably just beat Keria straight up in a blind pick. But Keria is a player different to them on the opposite side, where if you give him something to work with or a meta to work with or give him counterpick, he's probably the best player of the 4 or 5 to squeeze the most out of that counterpick. Like, he's got the deepest champion pool and plays the lane phase the best from range supports, that if you give him value in draft, he can probably win you that lane and get you an advantage, right? And he is the best player in the world in support role for counterpicking and for range supports. Similarly, I think Zeus is up there with maybe the top 2 top laners of the tournament, where if he does get a good matchup counterpick, he will squeeze the most out of it from draft and from the game. And to me, T1 is just a team that, if everything was stock standard blind pick engage sport meta the way it is right now, they are just bad, right? Their players' qualities are not highlighted by the meta enough.
Right there, Caedrel, T1 is bad. Boom, perfect. Put it on the channel.
Flip it, ship it, and fucking drip it. But yeah, but their players, if everything is just too stock standard and there's no room for squeezing things or being able to counterpick, or it's Gnar Renekton and it's Alistar Rel, there's nothing they can do. And I think their players' qualities just cannot shine right now. And if we get to a world championship where we saw the Leona armor nerfs, right? She lost like 4 armor. You can play Renata into Leona now, for example, or Lucian Nami comes back. I really think that's what T1 kind of needs. So for me, they're not a team. I think they will have high highs and low lows, but I think their high and low lows don't come from gameplay as much. They stem from like, how much can they squeeze out of these side lanes in draft, and how much will that help them in the game, in my opinion.
T1 is so it's weird because they won the world championship, but now with how the game state is, I feel like it's like a poorly built team in a weird way. It's like I think that Honor and Korea have very similar qualities. That I would love to see a world where Honor plays with Delight or like Korea plays with Peanut, just because of how the game has like shaped up in terms of how you need to progress. Because like T1 is at their best when they are playing duo pairings in bot that thrive on just playing on the mid wave too. And they put vision around mid, and then the enemy is forced to contest through mid because they're under pressure, which allows Faker and Zeus to just push side for free. My version of like my tier list, I pretty much did like my rating and then the ranges they could be in. So I put T1 is number 6 for me, and then the range is 1st place to 9th place in terms of like the range. And the players to watch for me is like Zeus and Korea, because for me these are the carries of the team. When they are in good conditions and good health to do well, I think that they are like the number 1 predictor for how well this team is going to do. I think also last year, right, it was very streamlined because it was like Rift Herald, you have to stay bot, you have to get 6 XP, you drafted heavily for lane, and then Faker could always itemize like Crown, Hourglass. He couldn't get dove, couldn't get pressured, so he was just stealing waves on his own, and then Zeus just needed information. But when they can't pressure through mid and they need to connect with support jungle, this is where I think T1 is just really, really bad. Like, this has never been their strength. I think even last year at Worlds, when I think the biggest signifier was that Genji versus T1 game, like Delight and Peanut are just running the map, ganking Faker, killing him on side when he's playing Orianna against Akali, and then like Owner and fucking Korea are like fucking late to the party. They're like playing Alistar. It's like, oh shit. And as long as that's the case, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be tough for T1. But they are still, I think that the entry point for me when it comes to any team reaching the number 1 spot are the players like mechanically like good enough. And T1, and like we mentioned top esports too, I think T1 top esports, they have mechanically good players that in the right conditions they can be a tournament winner, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think T1, the thing that helped them so much last World Championship is that, I mean, like Caedrel said, it's like you almost want to counterpick top and bot at the same time. But the thing that they had at the last World Championship is that they could blind pick their bot lane and it would function almost as a counterpick. Like, they would just pick fucking Ashe plus like Ashe support every time it was up, and it's like they could just win the lane every single time. They had the Varus flex where they would go like Varus Callista and stuff, and they could actually like flex and duel them bot. And I think that this is actually the biggest strength for them, is that they were able to just give resource to Zeus. And when Zeus was getting his like Yone versus fucking Aatrox counter, I feel like I've never seen this guy lose a game of Yone into Aatrox, like in my entire fucking life. I feel like I've watched him. He shot on JDG with it twice. He's won the best of 5 here with it. It just seems like that is something that he can always pull out. So it's weird how T1 plays, because normally like teams are very like top side or bot side focused. But T1 plays like both at the same time. Like, they kind of just like, they let Zeus play his lane however he wants. And even if Zeus died a couple times, like people act like now Zeus dying is like a huge new thing. Like he used to never die before. No, he would die before, but it's just he's a good enough laner where he'll have a lot of good deaths. Like he'll die when like the wave is crashed and like he's up like 10, 15 CS and he outscales in the matchup anyway, so it doesn't feel like he's losing anything. And he'll just be able to like reset, go back to his lane and continue like playing the lane the way he wants to. I think a lot of this year they would have struggles when he needs help. When Zeus needs like people to actually like put him ahead. I feel like Carry and Owner don't have like the best mind about how to influence top lane positively.
I mean, I think you can like extrapolate like the DRX series in 22 in game 5, and I do think T1 still has a similar style of like their side lanes are just like a huge part of their core. If top gets counterpick and gets solo killed, and support, you can see the T1 right in that finals. They first picked Karma when they banned was it Caedrel and Lux? I can't remember, because they need push bot. That's what I mean. As much as it was the meta, like if there's a meta where they can have counterpicks on sides or pushing sides, this is where they succeed, right? But top gets solo killed, the enemy team plays Bard and roams around, and it just turns into this like weird state where they can't get leads from side lanes. And even in that game 5, like mid jungle was fine. Like Viego was ganking mid. They got a kill onto Zeka early, and then Baker had push. And I don't think they live and die by mid jungle. They just live and die by like what's their state of their side lanes in the early game, like lane phase, top and bot. Do they have good matchups? Do they have push? Can they play to them? If they can't play to either side, I think this team just collapses.
Now the question, guys, is I mentioned 3 teams. The last time we sat down and talked as 3, the last time we did this, we all had a horse in the LPL race. Weibo won out. You got the Shy of Riven breakdown from Dom. I did like a little hype trailer as well for the Shy and Weibo.
Shy.
Are we willing to pick our own horse in these 3 teams that I mentioned in terms of how far we're gonna get? Just to
I'll pick DK. I'll pick Damwon.
You pick Damwon? Okay.
Yeah, I'll pick Damwon, bro. I don't want any of those horses, bro. Get me the shitty ass fucking donkey in the bar and get me that motherfucker. I'll give him a win.
So we're not allowed to pick the top 3, meaning How Alive, Billy Genji. That's
you can pick the top 3, bro. I'm convinced Damwon's doing damage, bro. Yo, odds were stacked against me last year. They're stacked this year too. Don't worry.
Okay, so I got Damwon, boy. Where are you, Dom?
I mean, I feel like both of us just want BLG, no?
No, but we can't. No, that's unfair, bro. We can't pick Billy, bro. When he's picking
I thought he said you could have the top
Billy. Have anyone.
No way, bro.
Have anyone, bro. Take it.
Fuck it, bro. I got TL, and you can have G2, Yamato. There you go. Those are our fucking.
I think that's fair. I like that. That's fair. That's cool. Because if he goes Billy, I go Genji, and you're sitting there with Dama, like, what kind of a bet is this, bro?
Bro, that comment is gonna age real poorly when DK's top 4. That's gonna age poorly.
It's impossible, bro. It's not happening. I refuse.
You said the same thing last year. You said the same thing.
Oh, that was such a fraud run. I can't believe
it. Caedrel? What's the cope?
Bro, the magic's there, bro. Showmaker confidence, like his T1 series. I know he flashed on top of himself, but other than that, that was probably one of the best Showmaker series we've seen from him in the last like 4 months. Like his performance individually in this AD meta was abysmal. But that last series was good. It'll be AD jungle meta. That's perfect for Lucid, bro. He loves his Lee Sin, Viego, Jarvan, all that, whatever it is. Any AD jungler, he'll play it. Kinging and aiming or peeking. You just don't know it. And Moham's growing, brother. He's been growing. They had Kellen, who's a lane phase enjoyer, bad engaged. They had Bible last year, who's engaged, and he's shitty laner. Now they got Moham, who's a bit of both, bro. Trust me, they're peaking. They're peaking hardcore.
If you say his name cooler, it doesn't make him better. We got Moham.
Bro, Lucid was dog shit at Maokai and Sejuani. He was fucking bad. Don't you worry. When it's Viego, Jarvan, Orianna, Syndra, DK mid jungle fixed, you're gonna see magic.
Okay, so I have G2, Dom has TL, you have DK. I think this is very fair because
how the fuck is this fair? I have the NA team.
I think it's mega unfair. I think it's GG.
I think it's very fair. Dom, you've been saying Tia is gonna beat G2 all year, so let's. And he has DK. I have DK like 10th or some shit,
but
bro.
if you guys could choose any team other than Hamalife, Genji, BLG, who would you choose? Like
to win? Like who do I think could win?
To go the furthest. This is better.
I mean, bro, don't make me choose T1. I refuse to answer this question. I'm not choosing T1.
Because I thought that's where we're going to land. I thought Dom's going to go T1. I'm going to go top esports. And I thought you're going to run back to Weibo, you know? But I thought that's where we're going to land. But I
lost my faith in Weibo.
Okay. I like where we landed. Is everyone cool? And then we just let the comments decide what the punishment should be.
You'll see when DK makes finals. Actually, you're gonna go
Or the
crazy.
reward. Okay.
Bro,
We just do it.
I just want to see Caedrel suffer through making a video like the shy video. Like the shy video took me so long to make because it's also like you know how
it took you so long because you didn't want to make it. Go on, be honest.
Bro, it took once I started making it took me like a week. Like just going back and researching. I'm sitting there and I'm like, my fucking old ass is trying to figure out what the shy combo was. I'm like, wait, is it W auto? Then wait, no, is it flash? It's ER1 then W auto, or is it auto W? Like, nah, bro, this was some
Crazy
bullshit,
though.
bro.
You have to do that. You get 100k views, but you react to like some Whippo stuff or whatever it was before. Where it's the JoJo news, boom, 5 minutes. It's crazy how content works. Though you put in 1 week in a video, it does this. You do 5 minutes of reacting, boom, triple.
Wait, where's the shy video has 114,000 views, and then me just reacting to the Whippo stuff on stream in 2 days has 240. Nice.
It's crazy. No, content's so stupid.
Nice.
Yep.
No matter how effort doesn't translate to viewership at all.
Nice.
It doesn't translate at all. Actually, I feel like this is a good topic to close us off on, because that is, I think, a struggle with a lot of content creators, is that as a streamer, it feels like it's better to push out a ton of low quality content than small amounts of high quality content. So I think we've all kind of struck the same balance where it's like you try to do the high quality content when it makes sense, and you just understand that will not be as directly like one-to-one effort to, what you get out of it, like, effort to results fruitful as when you just do normal streams and things like this and just co-stream games. But how do you, like, as a streamer, Caedrel, like, balance everything? Because I feel like it is something that becomes extremely difficult, because you don't want to put out content that you're not proud of, but at the same time, there is a constant feeling that you have that you need to always be there. You always have to be streaming, or else, things will fall off.
Yeah, I do like live with that paranoia of like, I think it's very hard for me to take breaks. Like the longest break I ever took from streaming is like a week, just because I always want to make sure that I'm like streaming or like in the loop, or people are asking what's Caedrel thing, where's Caedrel, all this stuff. So I always feel like I'm kind of needed to be there. I don't know, this year I tried to do a lot more like fully edited content. I don't actually mind too much to the viewership. I can see the viewership of a lot of the rundowns that I did is a lot lower than some of like the easy co-streams that I do. It doesn't bother me too much. I think I'm like a position where I think quality is like really important. And as much as I know that all of Worlds it'll be reacting co-stream videos, I just want to make sure that like the earlier videos in the year, like, or in the before the tournament starts, were like highly edited and more quality orientated, even though I know that like it's going to do really badly. At least it shows that I'm trying to put effort in, and I feel like I'm in a position where I can do that, right? Because the streams are doing well, and it took a lot of time, and it actually costs a lot of money to make like highly produced content. So I wouldn't recommend it for any creator who's like trying to make and grow. I would not recommend putting in money and time like a lot right now in the current sphere of influencing and YouTube and stuff, because React content is just the meta, and React content will always do better than anything that you pre-produce, because you can just add in all caps, this person said what, and that line itself will outperform any good produced content in terms of in the league space at least. But yeah, I thought that I may as well just do some of those videos, and then we'll continue with the co-stream stuff. But I think that's just what league content is these days. League content is just, whether you're a co-streamer or a solo queue player or anything, it is just either a clip montage, a game you played, or a game you watched, edited out from the stream and slammed on YouTube. And I don't think there's any shame in that. It's just, that's just the way it is, right? It is just low effort. But I also think if you're not doing that as a streamer, you're crazy. You should always do that as a streamer if you can find someone to do it. Yep. And you have the resources to do it.
Rise is watching this now, bro. They are going to cut everything, and they're just gonna crank out
full circle.
We've gone full circle now.
I mean, actually, Riot already started doing that. Like, and I don't think they're doing a wrong thing, but they're doing TikTok live streams with casters, right? If I pay you to cast Worlds, right, and you're there, I bring you in, I put you in front of a TikTok phone, and I make you watch the game, and you react to the game on TikTok live stream, right? And they're doing that with their casters. And I don't think that's a bad idea. I think they're like going into the meta already a bit. It's just, produce content for streamers is a bit rough, I think.
But I don't know if it's like age, but I couldn't see myself like watching a TikTok stream. Like,
people do it. It's crazy,
so foreign and crazy to me, bro.
It's hard to watch, bro. Like I've tried to watch TikTok streams before. It's like you can't even like see the fucking game because like things like you have to watch this very like narrow view. So like there's just stuff that you're missing. You can't see like the score. Like they try to edit everything so that you have all the relevant information, but it just feels fucked up, bro. It's like you just want to like fucking grab the sides of the screen and just like stretch it so you actually can see what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I don't know what the future is. Maybe, I mean, there's probably people who watch our streams who have like the Apple Vision Pros on. They're just laying in bed fucking with their glasses on, just watching Dom raging about another game.
They're just like walking around like T1 headquarters in their fucking Google, their fucking glasses, their Pro Vision glasses, and I'm just fucking like in there too in the corner flaming. They can actually beat me up in real life, like when I fucking start saying some shit they don't like. God damn, it's a new meta actually.
Maybe that's gonna make that, bro. In the future. Did you ever see? Don't they sell virtual NBA tickets? I swear they sell like virtual sideline like NBA tickets. I saw that once. I don't know. It was last year or something.
I think they made it so you can like put yourself in the game in the NBA, where like you just like they take how you look and they like put it over one of your players and it looks like you're the one playing inside the NBA game.
Jesus.
Yeah. Some weird stuff like that.
That's
all right,
we're getting old. I don't know what the future of streaming is, but maybe we'll have to grow into it.
Yeah, maybe this is co-streaming won't be a thing anymore. We'll just be like actually on the fucking Rift, like just dodging the fucking champion abilities too, just trying to like cast from inside the game. It'll be just some crazy shit. Who knows?
Only generous.
Yeah.
Fucking nightmare fuel, bro. Getting ganked in real life. No, but I hear your voice. He's going to ask you if there's something to add. Go ahead, Dom. I hear that. All right.
Yeah, it's time, bro. So this is normally when we end the episode. But we always open it up to our guest, see if there's anything that you really wanted to talk about on this podcast. I mean, we kind of just talked about the meta of streaming. This was a complete meta episode when it came to like League of Legends and streaming meta and everything like that. Yeah, meta narratives. So is there anything that you came on the show that you really wanted to talk about that we did not get to? If not, we're good.
I don't know. Is there anything actually? I didn't expect this question for me to think of a topic. No, not really.
Now you have to ask the questions.
I didn't think of anything specific to talk about. I think, I just hope everyone enjoys Worlds and be nice to each other. Don't be fucking degenerates to each other. And watch these guys' content. Watch other podcasts. I think you guys do great content. I think the Sackdown is like quickly becoming. I actually have watched like not every episode, but most of the episodes, and I like skip through all the timestamps and listen to what the players say. So I think you guys are doing great podcasts and great quality, and you work fantastically together. So I'm a big fan.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good messaging there as well. Be nice. I love that shit, man. That's why Caedrel fans, they got no teeth, man. They're nice. They pet us when they swing by,
Good. I hope so. I hope they're not mean. If they're mean, just send me the username and I'll cross-pen them. Like there was a person who was trying to start drama with Bwippo. There was one guy going Bwippo strat saying, Caedrel says you're already like toxic, being annoying. And my Reddit actually like screenshotted the guy's messages and put it on Reddit and said, this guy's trying to chat hop and cause drama. And I was like, wait, that's perfect. Ooh. You guys came together, found this username, and now he's gone. Good job. More of that in the world.
Yep.
Nice. More policing where people report each other. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Report each other?
Yeah. All right. So Caedrel just wants no anonymity to exist in the world. That's what he is going for here. Perfect.
What's anonymity mean?
Being anonymous.
Anonymity.
Yeah, anonymity.
Anonymity. Oh.
What did it sound like? My American accent?
I don't know what your accent is. You don't have a Texan accent. Are you growing a Texan accent?
Definitely not. No, it was just funny because I was like anonymity, and he's like, oh, anonymity, and I'm like, like he just said it British so that he understood.
It's the intonation. Anonymity. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Maybe that is anonymity. Yeah, anonymity. It sounds right. Anonymous and anonymity.
How do you say it?
Me?
Yamato. Yeah.
Oh. Anonymity?
Yeah, he says it American too.
Anonymity.
The
Australian. Hey, I'm Australia.
He's the person.
Maybe that's maybe the anonymity is not who's anonymous, but the friends who made along the way. Like, what is the anonymity of the sack? Who is the sack really? That's the beautiful thing. The sack is your own interpretation of the sack. Is it your sack? Is it their sack? Is it my sack? Whose sack is it? Or is it just the sack?
Well, it is my sack, but I get what you're saying.
Oh, okay. So it is your sack. So
it is actually just Yamato sack. Like, but it was a great way that you extrapolated it and just made it into something very wholesome, because the sack was literally just from Yamato flaming us and saying that we were in his nut sack when he was playing base skin Rumble in LCS. So he was just talking about his own nut sack.
Holy fuck, your sacks come far. People like to put their dogs on Instagram and get them famous. You chose your balls.
My fiance hates it, bro. She really hates it.
I tried reasoning with her. I'm like, please, just let us use Yamato's sack as marketing. Like, we need pictures of Yamato's sack so that we can make actual sacks that are modeled after Yamato's ball sack.
It's the underwear sponsor that.
We actually have one on one of the other shows. We got to get MeUndies on this show, bro. Like, it's actually the perfect one. But yeah, that's gonna be the episode of the Rat Down. No, like that's a good final place for it. Jumped all over the place. There was actually like no structure for this episode. Normally we have like topics and Yamato and I are messaging back and forth, but this one we just let the conversation carry us. So hopefully people enjoyed the view of streaming, I guess, from the inside. Anyways. Yeah, it was a good rant. It was a good therapy session. And we will see you next week for another episode of the Sack Down. Maybe the Jack Down, maybe the Rat Down. Who knows?
No, sir.
Did I just go great? Did I just die?
Thank you, Marc.
Yep. And then we just killed Caedrel at the end. Perfect. Peace.
What the fuck? I just look like I've just been like wasted in GTA 5. What happened?
Wait, it looked like you literally died.